Ready?
The 1980s presented several styles in media that were just legendary products of its time. One that always stands out to me is in the fantasy genre, specifically Conan the Barbarian. Schwarzenegger perfected this classic look, the long hair, ripped physique, and nothing but boots and a hide diaper.
I don't know about you, old chap, but I have a raging hard-on.
When you think of what a barbarian looks like, you think Conan. Of course, iconic styles like this bleed into other media, especially video games. There are a great deal of games that feature this look, or were greatly inspired by it. I mean, hell, even Simon Belmont took his cue from Conan. This style was everywhere. So with the look and idea of Conan the Barbarian in mind, I want to talk about an arcade game that I played recently that perfectly encapsulates this style. Let's not waste any more time and dive into the 1991 Taito-developed game Warrior Blade, and witness why barbarism must always ultimately triumph. The demo screen doesn't provide any pre-context to a plot, but the game does have some narrative text during the game. But basically, the story follows the adventures of Rastan and his search to find a country he can rule as king. Like most beat-em-ups, the story is throwaway, but no one gives a fuck. And on the title screen, you will also notice that this is actually the third game in a series called Rastan Saga. The first two Rastan Saga games are side-scrolling action platformers and had some form of release in North America. Warrior Blade, however, is a beat-em-up game and had no North American release, which confuses me because the narrative scenes have both English and Japanese text. So maybe there was a plan for a North American release or something? I have no clue. Insert some credits and we arrive at the character select screen where we're introduced to our heroes. We have Rastan himself, well just referred to as not Conan, Sophia, our token bodacious lady of the game that wields a whip, so naturally, I'm just going to create a headcanon where she's actually part of the Belmont family. And Dewey, your classic 1980s blonde high school bully. Warrior Blade uses a 3-button system, an attack button, a jump button, and a desperate attack button. The desperate attack is an AoE attack that costs health to use, and it's one of the dumbest looking super attacks I have ever seen. All not Conan and his friends do are just glow and shoot rocks out of their body. Thankfully, that's really the only lame thing about combat. We also have a dash accompanied by 2 dash attacks, as well as unique moves when hitting the punch and jump buttons together. You can grab enemies and chuck them, or slap the ever-loving shit out of them, which is just hella satisfying. Overall, the combat in Warrior Blade is pretty standard as far as beat-em-ups go, but I enjoy it. Enemies don't take a million hits to defeat, and the game moves pretty swiftly because of it. I never really felt I was being sucked into monotony or frustrated because some random enemy just wouldn't die. It's simple yet elegant. But fuck all that for a second, why the hell is this game in widescreen? Normally, these old arcade beat-em-ups are in SD, but apparently Warrior Blade was created as a dual-screen game. It's kinda like the 6-player X-Men cabinets, except where X-Men also had a 4-player SD cabinet. Warrior Blade was only made for the dual screen in arcades. This is something I'm happy about because this game looks fucking gorgeous. The detail in the character and enemy sprites are some of the best I have ever seen. For example, there's this part where you start the stage riding and fighting on horses, and it just blew me away. The amount of detail makes all the living things feel more alive, from the bulky armored skeletons to the mace-wielding lizardmen. Oh, and the stage where you're fighting and flying on dragons? Oh, or the scene with the cloudy canyon and rocky spires? Ooh, or when you fight the big old fire demon thing? Or...
Whoa, slow down, Jimmy.
I'm getting carried away, but this game is fine art to me. It's the perfect pixelated representation of the 80s fantasy genre in my eyes. Back to the gameplay, there are some items to pick up. They can restore health, grant special powers to your weapons like lightning strikes or the ability to chuck fireballs, which is pretty dope. You can also get this old man wizard to follow you around, and if you kick him in the ass, he'll cast awesome magic spells that can clear a screen. Warrior Blade also lets you choose which stages to go to and in your own order, which is always cool. The game has a very unique mechanic. Based on how you perform and score on each stage, you can earn permanent character buffs or enemy nerfs that last for the rest of the game. For example, you could find an artifact to increase your magic power, or an item that reduces enemy strength. I totally did not expect anything like this, and it's a fun surprise. I've never played an old school beat 'em up game that had this mechanic before, and now that I've experienced it, I wonder what other games did this as well. That's the cool thing about going back and playing all these games, is that you find shit you never would have thought of or known to have existed. When you think you know the ins and outs of a genre, you will always find something that adds a new layer. Another thing I want to show are the cool bosses this game has. I mentioned the giant fire demon previously, but we also got a swamp-dwelling Hydra, Mr. Left Hand Bones here, and a giant squid monster thing that reminds me of Ultros from Final Fantasy. A criticism I have is this one boss that's just a skeleton in a chair. He summons other skelos and just shoots projectiles. Definitely the most underwhelming boss fight in a beat 'em up I've fought against. This is also one of those beat 'em ups I would classify as pretty easy. I didn't really experience that many deaths, and everything dies pretty quickly, especially with those buffs and nerfs you get from each stage. But I also don't mind it, because as I've said in previous videos, I don't mind stumbling across an easy beat 'em up once in a while to balance out all the quarter-sucking tough ones. Warrior Blade was a blast for me. Seeing the 1980s fantasy world through the lens of beautiful dual-screen arcade pixels was just stunning to me and a memorable experience. I honestly kind of wish this was just a Conan the Barbarian game, but in spirit, it pretty much is. I even think Crom himself would approve of this game. Have you played Warrior Blade? What did you think of it? Feel free to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching.